More about major developments in Afghanistan is our political expert, Brian Sobel. Brian, first off, we spent 20 years and over $3 trillion on the war. When we went in, the Taliban only controlled a small part of the country. Now they have virtual total control of the country. That begs the question, what did we accomplish with all that money and all that time?
Maybe, Frank, the only thing we accomplished over 20 years at the end of the day was that we kept terrorists from attacking the United States from Afghanistan or with roots in Afghanistan. And that's basically what we can look at after 20 years.
Do you think in the end that was worth it?
One really has to spend a lot of time thinking about it, don't we, Frank? 20 years without a terrorist attack on the United States on the order of 9/11 is a big thing. But what I think about tonight, and I was looking at that picture of the 640 Afghans on the plane, is how heart-wrenching it is to see that and to see these scenes and to know what's ahead for the women and the girls of Afghanistan who for 20 years have enjoyed an opportunity to join government, to become doctors and lawyers, and to be able to go to school. And all of that is going to be lost as the Taliban begins a ruthless sorting out of who helped the United States and other NATO countries. And it is going to be an ugly future, at least in the near term, for Afghanistan.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that in a moment. First, though, let's talk more about these scenes there at the airport in Kabul. It sure brought back memories of the fall of Saigon, people scared for their lives, trying to fight their way onto planes. We even saw pictures of several people literally falling to their deaths after the planes took off and they could no longer hang on. How could we have been caught so flat-footed by the speed of the Taliban's takeover?
It's a failure by the intelligence community, frankly, the military, the State Department, and the White House. And the president has to own this. And he tried in his speech today to say that the buck stopped with him. But I didn't hear enough in that speech, Frank, about the people of Afghanistan. And frankly, not enough in that speech about the soldiers and sailors and airmen and women and all these people, Marines, who lost their lives there. And no particular part of that speech, maybe later in the next few days, addressed the families of Americans and others around the world who lost their lives trying to give Afghanistan a bit of freedom.
All right, let's go back now to what happens to Afghanistan now. Does it implode, much like Iraq did after the invasion there? Are they going to go back to strict Sharia law? And what specifically will that mean for women and young girls? They must be absolutely terrified right now.
Totally terrified. This is a country that for years has known some protections. They will go back to this very strict Islamic law. Women will not be able to work. Young girls will not be able to be educated. It will go back a generation, Frank, in terms of any progress in Afghanistan. And there's another thing at play here. It's the geopolitical piece of this that should have people worried. Afghanistan borders Iran. Both those countries together do not like the United States. They have differences. But one thing they have in common is they don't like the United States. On the other border, you have Pakistan. And Pakistan, by the way, Frank, has a Taliban movement there as well. And guess what else? The Pakistanis have nuclear weapons. If this becomes some domino in the region, we are looking at some dark days ahead.
Finally, go back to what the president said today. What, if anything, stood out to you about his speech today?
Well, I thought there were a number of justifications for him wanting to leave Afghanistan. That, to his credit, he has been on this particular note really for years and years, and that is that we should not be fighting endless wars. But others, critics might say, we're still in Korea. We're still in Germany. We're still in places around the world to be a solidifying factor. And what made Afghanistan different is going to be the debate, Frank, as we go forward.
All right, Brian, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us tonight. As always, we sure appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Frank.